Well, after allegations of campaign wrongdoing that saw him removed from the federal Conservative leadership race, Patrick Brown is running for re-election as mayor of Brampton.
I love serving the city of Brampton. This is truly an incredible place to live. Want to add a few things? It really is a mosaic of the world, and you get to meet people from every culture, every background, and it has been the greatest privilege to serve the city over the last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years.
Amanda Galbraith is a principal at Navigator with years of experience working in politics, communications, and journalism. And Amanda joins us live now on CP24 Breakfast. Amanda, thanks for joining us again to talk about Patrick Brown. He is seeking re-election, filed those papers yesterday, but this was expected, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think there were signals from his campaign for a little while that there wasn't really a path to victory for the federal leadership race. He didn't rule it out. I think obviously Mayor Brown would have preferred not to exit in the way he did from the campaign, but regardless, his registration at City Hall didn't come as a surprise to me. I think he's going to be, for all the noise surrounding him and the ethics questions, I think he'll still be a very formidable candidate as mayor and may potentially be reelected come the fall.
He says it's not a consolation prize, Amanda. He says, he's focused entirely on Brampton and sort of even tried to spin it in his news conference yesterday saying, he could have served Brampton at a national level had he become the CPC leader and potentially prime minister here. But what do you make of this? If you live in Brampton and your mayor says, you know what, I want another job, but then you come back to this job, what's the sort of message to voters?
I mean, you sort of feel like when you're dating and the guy didn't want you at first, but now he's settling for second, right? So it's not the easiest message to spin. I don't think in the long run, voters in Brampton, frankly, are going to care that much, candidly, because he's a known entity to them. I think it would be different if he hadn't had a 4-year electoral cycle. Now, personally, I'm a fan of sort of, if you want to run for something, you should resign and do that. But I don't feel like it's going to have lasting impacts on Brown's campaign. But certainly, it's a tough message to put out there. So it's probably good for him that he has some distance before Election Day in October.
And let's talk about Election Day in October. Patrick Brown is obviously kind of going back to, or trying to get back into, being mayor for city council. That's pretty divided right now, going up against 5 city councilors. Given all the chaos and kind of politics around what's happening there now, how do you see this playing out in the mayoral race? Will it have an impact at all?
Certainly, I think, yes, the ethics issues that he's dealing with, the questions around the CPC leadership, all of those things will play into it, particularly because there's a track record of this, right? Like same with the Ontario PCs when he was sort of run out of from there, whether it was fair or not. You can argue either side. So I think it will have an impact. But a lot of, frankly, municipal election campaigns is about incumbency. It's about name recognition. And certainly, and track record. And I think certainly Patrick Brown had those. And before he chose to run for CPC leader, I think all the votes were that he would handily be reelected in Brampton. So I think it's still his to lose, would be my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, effectively, we're talking about this morning, but, the election is 4 months from now, isn't it, effectively, Amanda? And that's a long time in politics. It's a long time just for the rest of us who are dealing with higher inflation and all those sort of things. There's a lot more things people are focused on, it seems, than perhaps what's happening in the here and now for Patrick Brown. And that's really playing in his favor, is what you're saying. Oh,
100%. Yeah, that, and it's July, right? People are vacations and on dogs. I don't know if you've seen the traffic. It's not great, but it's not as bad as it was about a month ago. So I think a lot of folks are kind of hearing it with one ear, but they're not certainly tuned in. And I think there's a lot of runway between, the issues that are clouding him now until October. That's not to say he doesn't have a fight on his hands, but I certainly think he's a formidable politician, as you saw there from his launch, and also the fact that he's been a cat of 9 lives, right? Like he keeps resurrecting himself in different ways. So I'm not surprised about this at all.
Yeah, he certainly is. Okay, Amanda Galbraith, thanks so much for your time again this morning. Take care.